Designing one's dream home is no easy task, regardless of the budget. Everyone has their own unique tastes and styles. But when you're designing a house with no idea who will live in it, it's even more difficult.
We're creating a home for the unknown person, which is, a difficult thing at the best of times. So
Sally McCareth is still choosing the interior for her luxury artist studio.
most chandeliers are going to be drowned by that room. It's just too huge.
We had the idea of
We could play safe and do just generic, white ceilings and French grey walls, but we're not going to do that because this house was never that. This was this extraordinary place with extraordinary creative people who cross the threshold. Actually, the challenge is how we communicate old Chelsea and all the magic and all the stories that have happened here without making it like some old fusty old museum, but we've actually got to repurpose it for the 21st century.
Sally is trying to create a millionaire's vision of Chelsea that celebrates its bohemian heyday. And to advise her, she's called upon a Chelsea resident steeped in local history.
This is my collection of Chelsea books. This is a very important pair of books, which is the first history of Chelsea written in 1829 by somebody called Thomas Faulkner. Without showing off at all, I suppose I am considered an authority on Chelsea. Some people call me Mr. Chelsea, but I think that's a bit extreme.
David Lelay has lived in Chelsea for 50 years.
The very name Chelsea conjures up the idea of something artistic, vaguely bohemian, slightly risque. And that's what Chelsea lives off. Of course, today, it's neither artistic nor bohemian. It's where the rich of the world live. Nothing in Chelsea comes cheap. It might be very nice and very agreeable, but cheap it ain't. We don't have Greggs in the King's Road. Have you ever heard of Greggs?
Sally has called on David to advise her on the studio's historic details.
And this is going to be a stair in steel and timber and brass and leather. It's going to have leather treads.
Really?
Yeah. We're doing silver walls.
Frederick the Great liked silver gilt. Did you know that?
Oh, good. I mean, good
as
company
opposed to
then.
gold gilt.
So what we're doing here is a new part, very much a 21st century bit of the building.
I hope it doesn't leak.
You hope. We help to pray if it does.
In particular, Sally has a plan to restore the painting studio to its original bright yellow.
Is there some truth in this rumour about the studio being yellow?
Augustus Charles Howell described standing in this room like standing in the yolk of an egg.
I mean, that's an extraordinary depth to the colour.
And here's this
My
painting.
goodness.
This
Oh,
is
so
and
is
this is
that a portrait
that
that's
is
been
this
done
room,
in this room?
in this room.
Was it called the yellow room, the piece?
That's right. Are you planning to paint it yellow? That's the great question.
Well, what we are planning to do is put yellow fabric all over the walls.
Paint would be much cheaper.
Sally's ambition is somewhat at odds with David's more conservative tastes.
One thing that I do wonder is why this is being done when Sally's client is a property speculator who's going to sell the property. Taste is very much in the eye of the beholder. I just think that in this case, an enormous amount of money is being spent just for the sake of spending money.
In central London, where developers and interior designers are awash with work, one lady is bucking the trend. In her recently purchased £6 million townhouse, Russian expat Julia has decided to go it alone in remodelling her home.
I don't even understand the idea coming and just buying already a made-up house. I don't want anybody just to check everything inside and say, this is